This is your daily dose of all things royal. Oh dear, this just got worse for Harry and Meghan. Today, Variety magazine, which is the industry magazine in Hollywood, just wrote this scathing write-up. You gotta hear this. After 5.5 tumultuous years at Netflix, are the Duke and Duchess of Sussex on the outs in the streaming kingdom? That's been a burning question around Hollywood as the couple's company, Archwell Productions, has struggled to release bingeable content. Launched in 2020, the company was originally intended to produce scripted and unscripted films and series for all ages. For the past 18 months, it has largely become a vehicle for Meghan Markle's consumer products brand As Ever. Last week's news that Netflix had divested from the lifestyle venture, which the tech giant footed the bill to help build, tossed gasoline on a bonfire of speculation about the health of the relationship between the former royals and their creative home. Variety spoke to 6 well-placed individuals with knowledge of Netflix and the Sussexes, who say the union between Meghan, Harry, and the streamer has been far from a fairy tale. The Sussexes' perceived pattern of selling repackaged versions of the same story about their exit from royal life has exhausted Netflix. Their partnership may continue to taper off, and with it, will Meghan and Harry's remaining show business lifeline. The mood in the building is, we're done. One Netflix insider tells Variety of the vibe on Meghan and Harry. Their bedside manner has ruffled feathers in meetings, and lackluster ratings for shows like With Love, Meghan have led to doubts that e-commerce is the best way for Netflix to stay in business with the couple. A Netflix insider says the ratings for With Love are on par with other lifestyle series. That's to say nothing of Archwell's history of what sources call poor communication in their dealings with the company. 3 insiders say Netflix chief Ted Sarandos is fed up with the pair, who, per 2 sources, have been known to text directly with the co-CEO about their projects, as do many A-listers who work with the streamer. Similarly, Chief Content Officer Bella Bajaria is said to have grown weary of the Sussex Pact. A Netflix spokesperson says it's absolutely inaccurate that Sarandos and Bajaria have lost faith in the couple. Archwell has been a thoughtful and collaborative partner, says Bajaria, and we've really enjoyed working with Harry and Meghan. They're deeply engaged in the storytelling process and bring a unique global perspective that aligns with the kinds of impactful projects our members respond to. Insiders at the streamer says Sarandos and his wife, Nicole Avant, socialize frequently with Meghan and Harry and are neighbors in the Star Haven of Montecito, California. However, 2 sources insist that Sarandos recently said he would not sit for a call with the Duchess unless a lawyer was present on the line. The sources were unclear if Sarandos was serious or joking. A Netflix spokesperson says it is absolutely inaccurate that Sarandos made the comment. This is blatantly false. In fact, Meghan texts and speaks with Mr. Sarandos regularly and has been to his home, sans lawyers, says Sussex attorney Michael J. Kump in a letter to Variety regarding this story. Oh dear. Last August, a second set of episodes from With Love, Meghan performed dismally compared with the first round. Netflix was sitting on a surplus of As Ever products, including tea and baking mixes, totaling more than $10 million in value. So much so that the company started giving inventory to employees for free, putting the goods on card tables in various office buildings. An Archwell spokesperson says giveaways from sample closets are standard practice at studios. Oh my God. $10 million worth, though, of sample product? Gosh. A different Netflix source says the plan was always to spin As Ever back into Archwell's control, and that the streamer only intended to assist in its launch. With Love, which features Meghan's friends and the occasional synergistic cameo from talent with ties to Netflix, like Mindy Kaling, was not renewed in full. A spokesperson for the Sussex says, With Love, Meghan will continue as seasonal specials. Oh gosh. Yet, according to many people familiar with the matter, Netflix's disenchantment is not a recent phenomenon. Oh my gosh, this is so bad, but it's so good. At the onset of COVID and their move to the United States in March 2020, the couple made it clear that they plan to build an entertainment empire. They held discussions with every major media company in town, including Disney, Apple, Warner Brothers, Discovery, and NBC Universal, as they searched for an overall deal. Content, slates, and consumer brands were always part of their vision, but the industry was clamoring for one asset in particular, a docuseries featuring never-before-seen footage of Meghan and Harry's great British escape, including video of the two on the commercial jet that delivered them to California. David Zaslav, CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, was especially keen to land Meghan and Harry, a source familiar with the executive says of that time. Sarandos, fiercely competitive, swooped in and signed them to an exclusive arrangement over a 5-year term. Reported numbers for the deal vary from $30 million to north of $100 million, but two sources pegged the figure at roughly $60 million. Netflix announced a partnership in September 2020 with fanfare and immediately got to work setting the stage for the docuseries Harry and Meghan. What Netflix didn't expect, according to numerous sources, was the March 2021 blockbuster primetime interview the couple would participate in with Oprah Winfrey. While nobody at Netflix has suggested that the Sussexes violated any of the terms of their agreement, which allows the couple to engage in projects in other arenas and participate in interviews for other distribution outlets, many at the streamer were annoyed by the lack of communication. Sources say that the company only discovered at the last minute that the Sussexes would sit with Winfrey and share intimate, headline-grabbing details of their lives. A Sussex spokesperson says it is categorically false that Netflix was unaware of the Winfrey interview. Regarding their deal and its exclusivity, the representative adds that Netflix and Archwell had legal counsel involved to oversee the evolution of the deal, as is common practice for any deal changes in Hollywood. Still, in the honeymoon phase, Netflix leadership ultimately did not interfere with the broadcast, which delivered a massive 17.1 million linear viewers for CBS. Following the Winfrey interview, chatter in the book world was that an auction was heating up for a tell-all memoir from Prince Harry. Still smarting from the Winfrey experience, Netflix approached the couple to discuss how a potential book deal would impact the release of the docuseries. Sources say Meghan downplayed the auction, telling Sarandos that any publication would be far in the future if it happened at all. A spokesperson for Meghan calls this categorically untrue. There was open communication with Netflix months before release to coordinate timing between book and series. In the spring of 2021, sources say the streamer felt blindsided again with news that Penguin Random House was indeed publishing the Harry memoir Spare, and planned to do so during Netflix's rollout for Harry and Meghan. While two sources say Sarandos was riled to hear about this during a chance encounter with a Penguin executive, a Netflix insider says the co-CEO never met anyone at the publishing house regarding the book. Penguin would formally announce the project in July 2021, setting a late 2022 release. Penguin Random House had no comment on the matter. Netflix acted immediately to have Harry and Meghan air in its entirety before the book hit shelves, the sources say. Penguin shifted its release to January 2023 when Spare would become the fastest-selling nonfiction book of all time, according to Guinness World Records. Prince Harry earned a reported $40 million from that deal. A Netflix insider says the plan was always to air Harry and Meghan in December 2022, though two sources say plans ultimately changed to get ahead of the memoir. Concurrent to the book release incident, production on Harry and Meghan proved challenging. Lana Wilson, Taylor Swift's Miss Americana, was originally enlisted to direct the project, but no official deal was reached. A rep for Wilson says she was never formally attached. Garrett Bradley, Naomi Osaka, came on board briefly, reports say, before splitting with the couple over creative differences. An Archwell source says Bradley was never engaged as a director. So Randos then personally appealed to Oscar nominee Liz Garbus to shepherd the project. She agreed, and the working relationship between Garbus and the couple remained smooth throughout the process until post-production. During the editing of the docuseries, two sources say Meghan appealed to Garbus to remove elements from the final cut, saying select interviews and footage would be upsetting to the royal family, especially given that Queen Elizabeth II had died 2 months prior to the series' debut and the couple was observing a period of mourning. Garbus declined to comment. Internally, at Netflix, sources say the feeling among some executives was that the couple's true intention with the request was to ensure Harry's upcoming memoir would contain exclusive news and insight that would satisfy his publisher. A Netflix spokesperson calls this characterization not accurate. Two other sources with knowledge of the process say Netflix leadership encouraged Garbus to conduct one final interview with the couple to ensure that events discussed in Harry's book would also be covered in the series. Garbus and the couple were strongly advised to deliver Harry and Meghan in a way that maximized the value of the show. They agreed, the sources add. Harry and Meghan will go on to mark the highest documentary debut ever for Netflix, with 81.55 million hours viewed in the first 4 days of release. Outside Netflix, parts of the entertainment industry began to sour on the couple. After making an exclusive podcasting deal with Spotify the same year the Netflix contract was signed, the Sussexes parted ways with the company, having delivered only one series, Meghan's well-rated Archetypes. On an episode of his own podcast in June 2023, Spotify's head of talk strategy, Bill Simmons, called the couple fucking grifters. The year before, in a January 2022 episode, Simmons said, "You live in effing Montecito, and you just sell documentaries and podcasts, and nobody cares what you have to say about anything unless you talk about the royal family and you just complain about them." However, the ratings for Harry and Meghan brought much-needed success for the couple and a return on Netflix's investment. There was a feeling of momentum in the Archwell offices. Despite the renewed optimism, the couple struggled to connect with Hollywood's creative community. A-list talent and directors were hesitant to work with the pair, sources say. Perceptions were shifting in the industry and across the U.S. thanks to comments like Simmons and similar remarks from then United Talent Agency's CEO, Jeremy Zimmer. Turns out Meghan Markle was not a great audio talent or necessarily any kind of talent. Zimmer said at a 2023 conference in Cannes, "Just because you're famous doesn't make you great at something." Scripted projects, including the animated series Pearl, about a time-traveling girl who meets famous women throughout history, were often scrapped. Development turnaround is common in Hollywood, yet the Sussexes have not produced a single scripted project in their nearly 6 years at Netflix. Meghan signed with talent agency WME in April 2023 in hopes of burnishing her profile in the business. Agency sources say, however, that her primary focus was building as ever. Within 3 months of Meghan becoming a client, key members of the team assembled to represent her dropped off the account. The agency still represents the Duchess and Archwell Productions, and her team includes Jill Smaller, an architect of the Serena Williams empire. Netflix also stepped up to help define the post-Harry and Meghan era at Archwell. When Ben Browning departed as production and creative head at Archwell in late 2023, the streamers showed renewed vigor. At the 2024 Sundance Film Festival, for instance, the new creative team at Archwell hit the ground with indications from Netflix that the company would prioritize spending on acquisitions for Archwell, with the goal of building a substantive pipeline of projects for Meghan and Harry. But sales agents and filmmakers on the ground were not interested in any Archwell involvement, 4 sources say. Archwell specifically expressed interest in Skywalkers, a love story, and the Christopher Reeve doc, Superman. No deals materialized despite the Sussex's overtures. The Reeve doc ultimately went to Warner Brothers' DC film label for $15 million, less than what Archwell would have paid, three sources say. Well, with what money? Netflix took Skywalker's A Love Story for its main film library, and sources say the dealmakers were not interested in having Archwell as a second partner. Jeff Zimbalist, the writer-producer on Skywalker's, tells Variety that neither the couple nor Archwell was ever mentioned to producers during the bidding process. Regarding the Sussex rejection at Sundance, a Netflix spokesperson calls this categorically untrue. A source familiar with Netflix's acquisitions protocol says Archwell would only be floated as a partner if the streamer or a sales titles producer felt the couple added value to the project, and that was not the case for Skywalker's or Superman. This year, the couple went to Sundance to premiere the Girl Scouts documentary Cookie Queens, on which they served as executive producers. That documentary struggled to land a sale before Roadside Attractions bought it nearly 2 months after it debuted at Sundance. News of the sale came as this story was going to press. By March 2025, it was clear that Netflix and Archwell had changed direction. With scripted projects failing to materialize, it was time to reconsider the partnership. Prince Harry was not nearly as visible in projects after the 2024 debut of Polo, a 5-episode unscripted series about his friend and athlete, Nacho Figueres. It was time to test Meghan's mettle as an entrepreneur and a solo star. I think Meghan is underestimated in terms of her influence on culture, Sarandos told Variety last March. When we dropped the trailer for the Harry and Meghan doc-series, everything on screen was dissected in the press for days. The shoes she was wearing sold out all over the world. The Hermes blanket that was on the chair behind her sold out everywhere in the world. Sarandos added that Meghan and Harry were overly dismissed. Sarandos also confirmed that Netflix was a passive partner in the As Ever brand, which he called a big discovery model for us. With Love, Meghan went into production complementing her range of products and later debuted in the Netflix Top 10. Last August, the Sussexes signed a new pact with Netflix, downgrading their exclusive agreement to a first-look deal. Sources say this is common and happens with other talent deals, including the Obamas. The announcement came with a quote of support from Bajaria and name-checked As Ever. The brand investment was highly experimental for Netflix, which had little experience in retail. The move into new businesses meant more of Netflix's corporate resources would be allocated to Archwell, and the company's vast staff would interface more often with the couple. The Sussex's bedside manner was not well received by some inside the streamer. Insiders say that Meghan has long conveyed that Hollywood is her domain. In virtual and in-person meetings with partners, she tends to talk over or recast Prince Harry's thoughts, sometimes while he is mid-sentence, sources say, usually preceded by a touch to the arm or thigh. Yeah, we know that all too well. Meghan's lawyer Kump, in his letter to Variety, says this assertion seems calculated to play into the misogynistic characterization of her bossing her husband around. Prince Harry, meanwhile, attests that this is categorically false. Meghan also had odd methods of providing feedback, according to three sources. She was known to disappear for long periods during Zoom calls, the sources say. Later, Netflix teams, like the marketing department, would be informed that her absence was due to her being offended by something that was said. Michael Kump says that Meghan works from home, is a mother of young children aged 4 and 6, and often encounters, as many parents who work from home do, children who enter the space unexpectedly during a meeting. Independent of being a parent who works from home, Meghan is also conscious of shielding her team from the distraction of children. Nearly all professionals can attest to needing to turn off the audio or camera during a virtual meeting at some point during many hours of virtual business calls. Consumer response to Meghan's lifestyle series and the As Ever products was mixed. Archwell reported selling out its inventory across the board after launch, though Newsweek reported in January that a glitch on the company's website revealed a high volume of unsold products. After the second batch of With Love episodes cratered, sources say the writing was on the wall that Netflix was losing faith in the former royals. While news of Netflix's divestment in the brand only hit days ago, two sources say it had been in the works since last fall. That's when Meghan hired independent brand consultant and creative director Devin Pedswater, who had worked with Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop, signaling to several sources that Netflix had thrown in the towel on Meghan's venture. Archwell has two scripted features in the works at Netflix, an adaptation of the novel The Wedding Date, which recruited Girls Trip writer Tracy Oliver, and a movie based on Carly Fortune's book, Meet Me at the Lake. A writer-director on the latter project will be announced in the coming days, two sources said. With regards to As Ever, Meghan has hinted she's exploring ways to deliver more bite-sized content, such as 2-minute recipe clips. But after half a decade of inconsistent shows, strategic shifts, false starts, and a diminished hold on the popular imagination, are the Sussexes really living the Hollywood dream they imagined? Now, as the saying goes, when it rains, it pours, and I did say the storm has begun, kicking it off with Tom Bower's book. Doesn't seem like it's going to let up anytime soon. Now, this is the third industry media outlet that has reported on Harry and Meghan and their bad behavior. So Harry and Meghan knew that this story was going to be dropping. It's interesting that they had their lawyers actually respond back to the story, as well as their spokesperson. That goes to show you that this magazine, Variety, holds a lot of weight in the industry, and this was damning. Now, the one thing that I did find very annoying about this article was that these anonymous sources were countered by either a response from the lawyer or a response from a spokesperson at Netflix refuting any of these claims. So this gives all these executives a level of plausible deniability, which I find really weak. You have these Hollywood types who are so two-faced. They smile to your face and talk behind your back, and I have no doubt that this is what happened here. And it's all because they don't want to burn any bridges, because you never know what the future will hold, and these people are opportunists. Here in New York, if we don't like you, we'll tell you to your face we don't like you and we want nothing to do with you and walk away. Well, anyway, the article was still brutal, and it couldn't have happened to a better couple. But does anybody think that this article is going to stop Meghan? Oh no. This is the kind of stuff that fuels Meghan. So this week, look out for all the tabloids to have Meghan's face on the cover, because you know that she's calling up Star Magazine and giving her truth and Us Weekly to paint Meghan as, oh, the whole world is against her narrative again. But what do you think? Definitely leave your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!
Such a fraud.